So literally 6 months ago, Alex Hormozi actually broke the internet, broke Guinness records, and broke everyone's back with his 100 million launch and the 7 hour long webinar. And then he brought it back basically because the norm was up until that point is that webinars are basically going out of fashion and it's not going to be a viable option anymore for entrepreneurs. The new wave, the kind of new wave starting from COVID times, was basically create as much content as possible and be as omnipresent as possible. And all this huge audience that you gathered basically will be funneled down to an offer, and that's it. You basically won. Now, that worked because people were hungry, extremely hungry back in COVID times, 2020, 2021, 2022. Um, because obviously we had this huge wave of people trying to change careers, trying to learn. They took on Zoom, for example, that basically they can work from home, they can utilize digital assets to make money. So entrepreneurs and marketers like yourself and myself, we were able to do this without webinars, basically just creating content and telling people what to do. So every single piece of content worked as a mini webinar or basically a part of a webinar. And then obviously the boom of TikTok videos, short form videos, which got all the impressions, not views, impressions. Big difference. Look it up. What's the difference between the two? Because some people mistakenly think that TikTok gives you views. No, actually it counts every single time something appears on the For You page. That's an impression and it counts that impression as a view. Look it up. You will be amazed. So when you see a TikTok that has 50,000 views, that's actually 50,000 impressions. That does not equal views, by the way. So once that's out of the way, let's concentrate on webinars. Why webinars work, okay? And why I love the fact that you are here and you are still doing webinars just like I do. Because human psychology will not change. We invest time into something that we love. Okay, so we invest time into something that we love or we care about. If you look at your life in general, you only do things for hours and hours on end that you either enjoy or you definitely invested time into that before. So let's say you love a garden. Okay, you love gardening. I'm just going to bring that up as an example. You're not going to go to the garden and do whatever you do in a garden, right? Uh, because of the sake of it. You do it because you enjoy. You enjoy the fruits of gardening. You enjoy the time you spend there. Although, on the other hand, let's say you do laundry. You do laundry because you want clean clothes or underwear. Okay, right? You don't want to buy an underwear all the time. You want them clean. So that's a chore. But on the other hand, we have things that we enjoy doing. If somebody decides to spend 90 minutes to an hour with you, that means that person is invested in you or what you have to say or what you're trying to sell or what you represent. If they spend multiple hours, so they binge watch your content, that means exactly the same. But the outcome is not exactly the same. Let me tell you why. So if you meet a beautiful person, okay, the opposite sex or whatever floats your boat, but I'm going to talk about a girl right now. So if you meet a beautiful girl and you spend some time together, that means you take her out on a date, then you spend the time in a theme park, maybe you take her to a museum, you take her to watch a play or to the movies and stuff like that. Every single one of these interactions maybe an hour, 2 hour, 3 hours long. So you spend quality time together. It's not just, hey, hello, how you doing? Here's a kiss, thank you, bye-bye. And then 5 times later, you go back and say, marry me, please. Nah, obviously not. You need to spend quality time together with this other person in order to get to know them better and get yourself known better by the person as well. So some sort of a connection starts building. So this is where the human behavior comes into play. We get invested in something that we spend time with, and then we spend more time with that thing, right? Or that person or that ideology. And then, okay, at some point, maybe 3 months down the line, maybe 6 months down the line, you sit down with that person and you spend yet another hour, but that hour is completely different because that's when you say, I want you to move in with me. I want you to be my wife. Let's get engaged. I want you to meet my parents. See? So it's still an hour that you're going to spend with that person, probably in a restaurant, just like you already did. But then it's a different hour. It's a different meeting. It's a different restaurant. Although before that you spent multiple hours together, but that hour is different because then it has a stake, not a steak like like a beef steak. It has stakes on the table. Like when you play poker. That's what happens with webinars. Exactly the same. So whether you put out, I don't know, 50 pieces of content a week or a month. Let's say you're too good and you put out 50 pieces of content, short form, long form, for example, and blog posts. Still, if you can do a 45-minute to 90-minute webinar, that tops all of them. Because in that webinar, you do 3 things differently from your piece of content. So if somebody says to you that going forward, the new norm is to create small pieces of content and people will binge watch that and they will love you for it. And then at some point, you just can simply introduce an offer and they will buy. That could work. Yeah, 100%. But for long-term engagement and especially high ticket sales, that's not going to happen. You definitely need some sort of a small explainer before somebody spends $5,000, $10,000 with you. You definitely need that let's go and sit down kind of thing. So that's where webinars come into play. And on webinars, okay, when you hold a webinar, when you do a webinar, when you present one, you have 3 things, as I mentioned, that you do differently from your piece of content. The first thing that you do on that webinar is that you introduce yourself properly. So within these videos, okay, sometimes I say my name. My YouTube channel has my name as as a title. You have my name. Probably you have my name in the description. Sometimes here and there, but I don't introduce myself every single time. So when it comes to this conversation, we take it to a different level. We take it somewhere off YouTube. Then probably you know me so far, or your prospects know you so far, but they don't know exactly everything about you and the most important things about you. So this is where you professionally introduce yourself. This is the only time when you can actually, and you're allowed to talk about yourself properly. That's where you have that elevator pitch, that 90 seconds okay, at the beginning of a webinar saying, hey, this is me, this is how much I made, this is what I represent, this is what I believe in, and you are here because that's the first thing that you can do. That's the number one thing that you can do on a webinar, and you have to do on a webinar in order to get successful, that you cannot do always with your content. You cannot repeat yourself all the time. And the second time is you get real-time feedback. Yes, so comment under your videos, a like, a dislike, a save, a share. That's something that you get as a feedback, but that's basically a passive feedback. So when you open your YouTube studio after an upload, you can just simply go back and say, oh, yeah, I've got, I don't know, 19 likes, 1 dislike, thank you so much, and 5 comments. I'm doing something good, people enjoying it or whatever. And then you read the comments and you're happy. But then on a webinar, you have the chat and people can react to what you're showing to them, what you're saying to them real time. The better presenter you are, the more invested you can get people into what you're saying. So I see this quite a lot when I work with entrepreneurs, high ticket sellers, course sellers, maybe most of the time. They concentrate on telling people, especially in their webinars, they concentrate on telling people how beautiful the solutions is, right? So they take like half an hour to 45 minutes with the pitch to tell them the bonuses, how beautiful it works out. And it's, I don't know, 30 weeks. Out of the 30, you get 12 weeks with me, and then 12 weeks with the team, and it's how beautiful, and then and payments options and stuff like that. Now, let me take this to a different level now. People don't give a shit about your product. I said it. I know. I know. People don't give a shit. We don't buy products. Definitely, we don't buy products. Okay, let me give you this hint. I was interested in a sports car, in a very, very well presented and expensive sports car. I went into the dealership. I had the money to buy it. At the end of the day, I didn't buy it. But the guy who tried to sell me the car never told me anything about the car. Seriously, nothing. I didn't even know the displacement of the car, the drivetrain, horsepower. I had some idea, but nothing major. Okay, so we sat down and he asked me 2 questions. He said, do you have a family, sir? I said, yeah, I do, 2 daughters and a wife. And immediately he knew, okay, so this guy is buying a 2-seater sports car. How old are you, sir? what line of business are you in and how old are you? I said, oh, I'm 40 and I'm an online entrepreneur. He immediately knew what I wanted to hear. He said exactly the same. He said, imagine that after a hard working day, when you have like a quick lunch and whatever, and then it happens and you're happy, get a cigar, put it in your mouth, drive down to your favorite, I don't know, local golf club or whatever you floats your boat, and enjoy a cigar and talk to your friends and tell them that you had a successful launch. And then when you look out the window, you can say, that's my da 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 Ferrari, Lamborghini. You know the drill, and you can feel proud. And all your friends, all your buddies, who supported you along this journey, they could say, "Yeah, he just made it. Yeah, he just bought a new car. That's sexy. That's right." So you got that approval as well. And wherever you go from now on, then on, if anybody wants to give you an advice, you can just simply turn around and tell them, "So, what color is your Ferrari? Because mine is out there. So shut the fuck up." And then immediately I was like, "Ah, that sounds sexy." I mean, if I could just say that to anybody who says, "Oh yeah, I've heard that you made such and such money. Why don't you invest it into this and that?" I could just say, dude, do you have a Ferrari? No? No, okay, that's mine. So once you do, okay, tell me what color it is and we can talk about my money. But until then, shut the fuck up." I really love that. So he painted a picture, right, in my head. And I went, "Oh, dude." So I didn't buy it, but I like that analogy. Now, when it comes to webinars, same thing. Just like this guy, he never told me about the horsepower, when does the electronic motor kick in, and how the drivetrain works. He never bored me with that, features and shit. No, 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 no. He painted a picture for me. And when I went home, right, I talked to my wife. She obviously said, "No chance. Now we don't need that monster in our house." Okay, fair enough. But then when I told her that story, she felt like, "Okay, but why do you need that? Why aren't you happy like this right now?" But in my head, I was like, "Dude, I really want that. I really do want that. I really want to feel what the guy told me." So I felt, well, the absence of the car, just like your prospects should feel the absence, okay, of the product, the solution. So let's say when you trying to help, one of my clients did this. You're trying to help women who just gave birth over the age of 35. Women over 35 tend to take this responsibility differently, and their body reacts to giving birth completely differently. It just only takes 10 years difference between a 25-year-old and 35-year-old. She explained that to me. Anyway, long story cut short, so she works with moms over 35-year-old who just recently gave birth, and she tries to help them get back mentally and physically into a relationship, stuff like that. Long story cut short, it has some sexual elements as well in it, so it's quite intimate. But long story short, she found this perfect niche. She is full of prospects and people who she helps. And she explained to me that her webinars don't work. So why do you think it doesn't work? Because people sign up, yeah, like in the hundreds, 200, 300 people sign up. She uses a mix of content and retargeting ads to put people on an email list, and then she invites them every single month to a live webinar. That's okay. So 200 to 300 people register for the webinars. Some of them turn up, so 100, 150 turn up, which is good. It's roughly 50% turn up rate, so nothing's wrong there. But then when she starts the webinar and when she gets to like the 30-minute mark, people start to fall out. 60, 90 people just simply leave. Not all at once, but slowly but surely. So we looked at what happens after half an hour or around half an hour-ish. What happens? We discovered that she's talking about the ideal mother at half an hour. She's talking about that mother who goes back to living in an intimate relationship with her spouse again, and strong and lost all the weight and stuff like that. So she painted the positive picture. I said to her, "How would you feel if you go to a date, a double date, for example? Let's say you've got your best friend and her husband, and then you have yourself, and then they brought along a sexy, nice looking, handsome guy, and everybody is looking extremely perfect. Washboard abs, sexy, everyone, whatever, and you are the only chubby person in there. How would you feel? You would feel bad, don't you?" you would feel insecure, right? So I said to her, this is what you did with all these women. Because now you look sexy and you look presentable and you are the person who should help these ladies get back to in shape and stuff like that, and in form and mentally into that. You know what I mean? Now they are insecure. So they don't want to see the perfect picture because that frightens them. They want you to understand their problem and be honest with them. And I said to her, do you have any pictures of yourself or videos of yourself from that time when you gave birth to your twins? Yeah, I do. Put them in at half an hour and tell them how hard it was for you to look in the mirror, how hard it was for you when your husband told you that she wants to have an intimate time with you, and you basically never had the lust to take off your clothes. I don't know how to express myself properly in this case, but anyway. So she said, but that's a sad thing. But these people are sad, so you need to understand their sadness. What happens after half an hour? Next webinar. What do you think? But don't leave. They are interested because now the story is about them. The story starts, okay, so you are a mother, you just gave birth. Hands up, everybody. We always do this. Every 2, 3 slides, we ask people to do something physical. Hands up, press something, press a button, say it out loud, things like that. We might not hear it, we might not see it, but people actually do it with us. So they are invested. So we say, hands up, everybody, if you're over the age of 35, something like that. Okay, that works. And then we say, how many of you have 30 pounds extra on themselves? Be honest. How many of you have 20 pounds? How many of you are extremely happy with what you look like right now? You know what? And then the picture comes on. This was me after giving birth to my twins. I wasn't happy. I was 35 pounds overweight. I felt miserable. I hated my life. I wanted to go back, and not without my kids, but obviously I wanted my body back. I wanted my self-esteem back. That's how it works. None of my clothes fit. Put your hands up. How many of you can fit into your clothes? None of you. That's fine. I was there. See? And people were invested. They loved it. They loved it. Chat was booming. It was crazy. And I went, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's why Alex Hormozi can put people into a 7-hour coma watching their webinar and rewatching it. Some people analyzing it. They didn't even know what the fuck is going on. How? Dude, he was talking about the problem. He understood the people who sat down in front of the screens because he knew that people are uninterested to brag about their problems. And if somebody can understand someone's problem and emphasize that problem, then the solution feels natural. What we did with this lady after that, we cut the webinar in half. She had like a 110-minute webinar, nearly 2 hours. We cut it nearly in half. We went down to 65 minutes. The pitch was literally 5 minutes, nothing longer. Seriously, nothing longer. And the introduction and the problem and the story was basically the whole thing. So she introduced herself at the beginning, very quickly, 2 minutes. Who am I? Why I'm doing this? Who I helped? What do we do today? She talked about the problem and the story and everything else. And by the time we got to the pitch, people were so invested, like you're watching your favorite sitcom, right? That by the time the pitch came, people were ready. People were extremely ready. And the funny thing is, the sales, most of the time, the sales didn't happen after the webinar because it was only like a 65-minute, rendezvous per se. But once we sent the email the next day, well, basically like 24 hours later, when we sent the first email saying, thank you so much for joining. If you didn't manage to watch it all the way, watch the replay. And here's the offer. I kid you not, it was crazy. It was crazy. Usually she converted right after webinars around 6-8% of webinar attendees. Now we went to 22. She was mad. Why? Because the story that we've given people, that we painted the picture, it was based on understanding. So let me go back to the dating analogy, and you will understand the thing. And I will tell you what the third thing is on the webinar that you do that you cannot do on your regular content. So if I go back to the dating analogy, imagine that you spent a couple of weeks, couple of months with this lady, and then you take her out to to give her the webinar talk per se, right? Where you explain that you want to move in together, you want to take this to the next level, you want to get committed, you get a response based on what happened in that, I don't know, couple of weeks, couple of months leading up to that point where you tell this lady what your intentions are. And based on what happened before and what happens in the talk, you get a response. So the response that you get is not based on just that hour that you spend with her, explaining to her that you want to move in together, stuff like that. It's based on the whole thing. So when you tell her that, hey, when you pitch that person that, hey, I think you and I should be together. I'm really enjoying my time with you. What do you say? Shall we move in? And then that person thinks and tries to find the signals from the past 6 months. And then if the signals are positive, saying, oh, yeah, that walk along the shore after that beautiful dinner, and oh, yeah, he brought me flowers. Oh, that was beautiful. And every single time that we were together, sex is beautiful. Yeah, why not? And he cooks sometimes. That's you know what? Let's move in together. So you get a response based on that. Now the webinar does exactly the same thing, and that's the third thing that you can do on a webinar that you cannot do with your content. You can pull together all these signals and then release it all at once. That's a webinar. So if you can introduce yourself on a webinar, right? And then you can interact with people, so you can get the live interactions, live feedback from them through the chat and through the live event. You can see what sort of signals you've sent with your content in the past couple of months. And that's huge. That's valuable. That's wonderful, because then people decide to work with you or buy your product, especially if it's high ticket, based on the whole thing, but they need the whole signal all at once. They need that cluster of emotions all at once. That's when they decide to be with you. That's when they decide to spend money with you. It's been already decided, just like with the lady's case, the girl's case, who she wants to move in with you. She already decided, but she was just waiting for the right moment. She was waiting for you to give her all the signals, the last piece of content, give her the last piece of content, the webinar, the end, the pitch. She was waiting for that. Just like the prospects, they know once they consume enough of your content, they know that you are the person for them who can help them achieve what they want to achieve or solve a problem. One of my best friends gave me a beautiful speech about how webinars work. And I think this analogy sums it all up. He said, imagine that you have the best frying pan in the world. That's the number one frying pan in the world. You can give that to a single man who has no idea how to use it and can only cook eggs, or you can give that to a master chef. Both of them will be able to feed themselves. It's just the quality and the way it works that differs them. So that's what webinars are. Yeah, the job of a webinar is to prepare someone to make a decision. If you don't use it well, then you leave money on the table. If you use it well, you optimize it, and then you have the whole system put together, just like I mentioned earlier. That's where I come into play. Then you are the master chef, cooking up all these beautiful things all the time, every time, without waste. Now, long story short, let's not waste time. This is the next video that you should be watching. That's what YouTube thinks, at least, based on your data. And here's the link for you to subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment. Let's start the conversation. Other than that, take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for joining me today. See you in the next one.